Hi, my name is Savannah Jones. It's so nice to meet you today. How are you
So,
feeling?
you know, I'm good. I gotta be honest with you though, I don't really want to be here, but like, we're here, we're doing it, so
Well, thank
whatever.
you for letting me know. I'm gonna try and make this as comfortable as possible for you. If you don't mind, would you like to start off by telling me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Dean Winchester. I'm 35. Um, I don't know what you need to know. Single, Aquarius, long walks on the beach. I was born in Kansas. Um, I don't know, my brother wanted me to come here because he says that I've been acting out and I don't deal with my problems very well. So I guess that's something to see a therapist about. So, yeah.
So you mentioned you had a brother and that you guys grew up in Kansas. Could you tell me a little bit more maybe about your childhood and what that relationship looked like for you and maybe anything that you feel we should discuss about it?
I mean, childhood's not that great. My brother, Sammy, he's 4 years younger than me. Um, we were born in Kansas. We didn't really like grow up there. We lived there until I was about 5, I think. Um, and then our mom died. So our dad kind of lost his shit. So he kind of just took us around the country, moved us place to place after that. So we didn't really grow up anywhere, but yeah, I mean, it was okay. He's not very an emotion. He's not an emotional person. So uh, wasn't like a lovey-dovey father or anything, but me and my brother stuck together, did our own thing. We made it work. So
I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about your parents. Could you tell me about the relationship that you had with your mother before she passed away?
it was good. I mean, he or she and my dad got along pretty well. I don't remember like a ton about her.
Mhm.
I remember just small things sometimes, like songs she used to sing me and food she used to make me and stuff like that. But um, yeah, I don't remember a ton about her since I was only like 5 or so. But it was a good relationship from what I remember.
That's
Yeah.
good. So you mentioned earlier that after your mother passed away, your dad went, he had some issues dealing with that and coping with that. How do you feel that your mother's loss shaped how your family enacted with each other after that?
Yeah. I mean, my dad just kind of went off the rails. Like I said, we moved around a lot after that. Um, didn't He didn't really have like a steady job or anything. Um, he was like a you could say he was like a hunter. But he kind of just didn't deal with it. Like he didn't deal with his stuff well. I inherited that. Uh, so he mostly just stuck to like getting angry about it. He was like super revenge driven. He just did what he had to do to figure out who did who killed her. So because she didn't go peacefully, you know. So he was mostly focused on that. So it was me and my brother, my little brother, mostly. But he did what he had to do. He wasn't the perfect guy or anything, but what can you do in that situation, right?
Mhm. So your dad was more preoccupied with dealing with his own loss than helping you guys get through it?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like I said, he wasn't a perfect guy or anything, but he mostly just he wasn't focused on grieving about it. That's not really like the guy thing to do. He wasn't an emotional guy. He just kind of dealt with it whenever he could and mostly looked for the revenge aspect of it. Yeah.
Was any of his anger, towards losing your mother, was it ever directed at you or your brother?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like, my brother told me when I was coming here to mention emotional abuse. I don't really consider it like that, but I mean, that's how he feels about it. So, I mean, he just got mad about it. When he was drunk, he wasn't super peaceful. um, pretty angry guy, but so am I. So,
So you mentioned that your brother wanted you to discuss maybe emotional abuse. So could you maybe explain to me a little bit about where you differ from your brother in seeing how your father treated you as emotional abuse?
I mean, he's always been pretty sensitive about that stuff. Um, he's he's always sort of wanted to. He's never known any different because he was just like an infant when she died. So when our mom died, so he felt like he always wanted to get out of that situation. So he took out like they butted heads all the time. I was like a mediator for that. So he like my little brother always wanted to just like leave and do his own thing. And I was more about like helping out my dad, and I loved our mom too, so I understood what he was dealing with and why he wanted to act on it and to kind of get closure for that. So I was more on his side most of the time, but you know in terms of like familial relationships, me and my brother are closer for sure, but in most arguments, I was more on my dad's side, I think, because I understood where he was coming from.
So you mentioned that a lot of the times in your childhood you had to be the mediator between your dad and your brother. How did that make you feel, and how does it make you feel now looking back at it?
Um, I mean, it was hard, I guess, just because like I didn't like to be in the middle of all the anger, right? But somebody had to keep them from killing each other when things got too heated. So, I guess that fell to me because I was the only one. I was the only other person there. And my little brother, he's always been like the smart one of the family. Like he's got a lot going for him. He went to law school for a time there, and while I was helping out our dad. So he's whatever I could do to keep him away from all that stuff was better for me, in
Okay,
my opinion.
so is it fair to say that maybe you feel that you took on a lot of responsibility emotionally for your dad and your brother throughout your childhood?
I guess so. I mean, I personally wouldn't phrase it like responsibility. I mean, it was just kind of what I had to do, right? Like it wasn't an achievement for me or anything, but I did it because it had to be done, and that's pretty much it. You
Okay,
know.
I'm gonna ask you a little bit more about abuse, but we're gonna talk about physical abuse. I just wanted to ask you before we move on, did these instances of emotional abuse ever result in any type of physical contact or conflict between you and your dad, or your dad and your brother, or you and your brother?
Uh, Not most of the time. I mean, like sometimes three guys under one roof. Sometimes we'd throw punches or fight like that. But that was more when we were older too. Obviously, we couldn't fight when we were kids, so not that much anyway. But yeah, not a ton of that, I guess.
So you've never
Sometimes our anger gets the best of us, but
So
yeah.
you've never had any physical injuries that you had to get treated for as a result of this? Any head injuries or blackouts?
Not from that, no. I mean, just in general, yeah, because we have a lot of in our day to day, we've got a lot of fighting and physical contact stuff like that, but not really from him. No, not
Okay,
from
what
that.
what does your day-to-day life look like?
Uh, I don't know. We travel a lot. Uh, like I said, we don't really have like a steady job or anything. Our dad, um, like since we were kids, we didn't, but we still don't. Not really. I don't know. We just go from place to place a lot of the time. just hunting mostly. We take after that family business that he kind of passed down to us. So yeah, it's me and my little brother doing that. So we're together pretty much all the time.
Okay, do you feel comfortable elaborating a little bit more on what this family business is?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, it's mostly helping people like that. That's why we basically go uh to any town that seems like they need our help. Um, just hunting down uh things that are causing trouble. Can't really elaborate much past that.
Okay. Um, you mentioned earlier that your brother went to law school, correct?
Yeah.
Did you have any kind of educational background beyond like primary education?
Uh, no, like I said, I mean, my little brother's always been the smart one of the family, the brains of the family. I think he got it from our mom. Um, so no, I mean, I went to high school. I dropped out before I finished it. Uh, but I mean, I have a GED,
Mhm.
but I never finished that part of high school. Never really thought about college. I never really liked school, so didn't
Okay.
really stick to it.
Did you ever get into any trouble when you were in high school before you dropped out?
Yeah, I think my teachers hated me a little bit. I mean, like I said before, we moved around so much that we didn't really stay in one school for very long. So it wasn't really a big deal for me. Like, didn't really stay long enough to get suspended or anything. So we just, I mean, maybe once or twice, but not really. And so we just kind of like he always tried his best to like keep up with the curriculum or whatever, and I just didn't really care about it that much. Our job was more important to me. So
Okay.
didn't really like the structure or anything like that. It was too like focused for me. I'd like the action of other things. So
Okay. So
yeah.
from what you've been telling me, it seems like you have a really close relationship with your brother, and
Mm-hmm.
in your childhood, you did have a close relationship with not only your mother but your father after she passed away, even though it was a little bit conflict ridden. But I would also like to ask you about your friendships. Are there any relationships you have outside of your family, and what do those look like?
Not really, because we still move a lot. I mean, there's some people we keep in touch with. Not gonna lie to you, they're all pretty rough because our line of work doesn't is pretty dangerous, so we don't really stay in contact with too many people. People we do stay in contact with, bad things tend to happen to them. So we try to like not make very many connections, keep our heads down. Mostly just me and my brother. I do have a best friend. Um, he's really weird. He's not around a lot, but um, when he is, we tend to get along. He's on our side, so yeah. Just kind of tends to pop in whenever we least expect him.
Okay.
Uh, but
So
other than that, not really.
how do you feel about your social life right now, currently?
I mean, it could be better, you but like I said, with our line of work, we got to do what we got to do. And if it keeps people safe to not make friends, then that's what we got to do. So,
So
yeah, I mean,
during a typical day, would you say that it's typically just you with your brother?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
You mentioned
pretty much.
earlier that your father had issues with substance abuse relating to alcohol. Is that a problem that you consider yourself to have, or anyone else in your family or your social group to have?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that my little brother wanted me to talk about mostly because, yeah, I guess that's a problem for me. Mostly just alcohol and stuff. I don't really like do any hard stuff or anything, but
Okay.
yeah, I guess that's sort of a problem.
Okay, so how often would you say that you typically drink?
I mean, you know, pretty much every day or every other day, but like not a lot. I don't get like super drunk every day. That's it's just like a beer with a meal or whatever. That's kind of what I like prefer to do. But um, yeah, kind of been doing that for a long time.
Okay, so Under what circumstances do you find yourself drinking? So you mentioned that you have it with meals, but is there any other maybe emotional response that the drinking is in relation to, or is it simply just because?
I mean, like, after a hard day, I guess I drink more, you know, or when I'm bored, sometimes go out to bars and just hang out there. I mean, that's those are my go-to spots, I guess, or bars, and so, tend to be able to drinking there. Um, but, I do drive a lot, for my job, so, you know, try not to drink a ton when I'm gonna do that. But, in between drives, yeah, I'll have again, after a hard day or 2, yeah, I'll have more than I usually do. After fights, sometimes me and my brother fight, or me and my friend fight, and after those, yeah, I'll drink, but, I don't think it's that big of a problem, but my brother was concerned, so.
So on these trips where you're driving, have you ever driven under the influence?
Not really, I mean, sometimes if I've gotta, like, get out of a situation fast, but I try not to drink in those, so not really. Never been, uh haven't been arrested for those since I was a teenager, but I guess I did have some issues with that when I was a teenager, but not nowadays, really. Gotta be smart about it. Don't wanna get myself killed or anything.
So you mentioned that when you were a teenager, this was more of an issue for you. So when did you start drinking so regularly?
Um, like 15, 16, something like that. I mean, it wasn't super regular then, but, had like went to parties and uh got my dad's stash and stuff like that. So around then, I guess.
Do you smoke? Do you use any other drugs?
Not really. I smoked when I was a teenager too, but I quit that. I don't. It's not really my thing.